Before we dive into this incredible HFY sci-fi story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Your support helps bring more epic tales of humanity's courage against the stars. And don't forget, share this video with a friend who loves sci-fi as much as you do. The encounter on Zoton. Picture this. You're stranded on a dying planet, abandoned by your own people with nothing but regret and an empty stomach for company. That's exactly where we find Nova Cox, a brilliant Zathari xenobiologist whose world just got flipped upside down in the worst possible way. The abandonment Nova stood at the edge of her makeshift research station, watching the horizon blur through heat waves rising from Zoton's cracked surface. Her iridescent scales, once the pride of her species, had dulled to a sickly gray-blue. 3 days. 3 whole days since she'd eaten her last emergency ration. 3 days since her research team decided she wasn't worth saving. Insufficient resources for everyone, her commander had said with that cold Zathari logic. Your research failed, Nova. We can't waste supplies on dead weight. And just like that, they were gone. Left her behind like yesterday's trash on a planet that was bleeding out its last precious minerals. Nova had dedicated her life to understanding alien ecosystems, to finding ways to heal dying worlds. The irony wasn't lost on her. Here she was, dying on the very planet she'd tried to save. She dragged herself over to what was left of her equipment. Broken scanners, dead communication arrays, and a whole lot of nothing stared back at her. The comm unit blinked its pathetic red light. No signal, no hope, no cavalry coming over the hill, an unexpected arrival. Then something impossible happened. The roar of engines cut through the silence like thunder in a graveyard. Nova's head snapped up, her heart doing gymnastics in her chest. A military vessel with Galactic Forces insignia was coming down fast, too fast. Smoke poured from one of the engines, and when it hit the ground, the whole planet seemed to shake. 2 figures stumbled out of the wreckage. A tall man in military fatigues and a small child. Humans. Nova had seen them in Federation databases, but never up close. The man, probably mid-40s, battle-hardened but gentle around the edges, carried his daughter protectively as debris rained down around them. "Dad, look!" The little girl's voice rang out clear as a bell. "There's someone here?" Captain Felipe Smith followed his daughter Zora's gaze and spotted the lone figure watching them. Even half-starved and exhausted, there was something mesmerizing about the alien woman. Her blue-silver skin caught the light like liquid metal, and those violet eyes held depths of intelligence mixed with raw desperation. "Stay close to me." "Zora," Felipe murmured, his hand instinctively checking his sidearm. Not because he feared the creature, but because 20 years of military training had taught him to expect the unexpected. But 8-year-old Zora Smith didn't know anything about military protocols. With the fearless curiosity that only children possess, she broke free from her father's grip and ran straight toward Nova, who instinctively backed away. "Don't be scared," Zora said in perfect galactic standard, surprising both Nova and her own father. "Are you hurt?" Nova hesitated. This tiny human child was so fragile compared to Zathari standards, yet her brown eyes radiated a kindness that Nova had almost forgotten existed in the universe. I'm hungry," she admitted, her voice rough from disuse. "Zora," Felipe shouted, sprinting after his daughter. When he got close enough to see Nova clearly, his anger melted into concern. The alien's ribs showed through translucent skin, her lips were cracked, and her hands trembled with weakness. "Jesus, you're starving." Nova took a step back. "I'm not dangerous. My team, they left me behind." The raw honesty in Nova's voice hit Felipe like a punch to the gut. He knew abandonment. Lost his wife on a military mission 3 years back, leaving just him and Zora against the galaxy. He recognized desperation when he saw it. An innocent proposal. While Felipe assessed the damage to their ship, Zora plopped down next to Nova and shared her energy bar. Nova devoured it like it was the last meal in the galaxy, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you all alone?" Zora asked with that brutal honesty kids are famous for. "Because I'm a failure," Nova replied, bitterness coating every word. "I didn't find what they were looking for." "I'm worthless. That's not true," Zora protested. "You're beautiful and smart. I can see it in your eyes. Nova managed her first smile in days. You're very kind, little human. My dad's kind, too, Zora continued, glancing over at Felipe wrestling with the ship's engine. But he gets sad sometimes. Ever since Mom went to be with the stars. That's when it hit her. One of those brilliant, simple ideas that only kids can come up with. She looked at Nova, alone and abandoned, but clearly caring. Then she looked at her dad, strong and protective, but carrying the weight of loss. The solution seemed obvious to her 8-year-old logic. Marry my dad, Zora announced suddenly, making Nova choke on her energy bar. What? Nova sputtered. Marry him. Then you'll never be hungry again and Dad won't be lonely anymore. And I'll have a new mom. Felipe, who'd caught every word of his daughter's outrageous proposal, jogged over with his face red as a solar flare. Zora, you can't just... I'm sorry, he said to Nova, looking like he wanted to crawl into a black hole. She's only 8 and... No, Nova interrupted gently. She's not wrong. About the hunger, I mean. She paused, gathering courage like armor. I'm a xenobiologist specialized in terraforming. If your ship can't take off, we could all die here. Felipe ran the numbers. Main engine was shot to hell. They had maybe 3 days of supplies, and rescue chances in this forgotten corner of space were somewhere between slim and non-existent. Can you help with the ship? He asked. I can try, Nova replied, hope flickering in her violet eyes like a candle in the dark. I know this planet better than anyone. There might be materials we can use as temporary substitutes, working together. For the next 2 days, Nova and Felipe worked side by side, jury-rigging the ship with whatever Zoton could provide. Zora played nearby, somehow creating a sense of family in the middle of chaos. Nova proved to be more than just brilliant. She was genuinely kind. She taught Zora about Zoton's rock formations, shared stories from her childhood, and gradually, the three of them developed a rhythm that felt surprisingly natural. Why did your team really leave you behind? Felipe asked during a break. Nova's shoulders sagged. Because I questioned orders. They wanted to strip mine without considering the local ecosystem. I objected. Among the Zathari, disobedience is unforgivable. Among humans, Felipe said quietly, we call that having principles. A new beginning. On the 3rd night, with the ship finally spaceworthy, Zora made another declaration that floored both adults. Nova can't stay here alone. She's coming with us. Zora, it's not that simple, Felipe started. Why not? Nova asked quietly. I have nothing left here. Nowhere else to go. She looked at Felipe with raw vulnerability. I could be useful. As a scientist, as family. The word family hung in the air like an unspoken promise. Felipe saw something in Nova that he recognized in himself, the need to belong, to protect, to be accepted despite your failures. What about Zora's proposal? He asked, half joking, half serious. Nova's scales shifted to a deeper blue, the Zathari equivalent of blushing. Maybe we could get to know each other first? See if it might actually work? That's a yes, Zora squealed, jumping up and down. 6 months later, our little mixed family was living on a frontier space station, and life had taken on a whole new meaning. Nova worked as a science consultant for the Galactic Forces, her terraforming expertise becoming invaluable across the sector. Felipe discovered he'd found not just a companion, but an intellectual equal who challenged and complemented his worldview in ways he never expected. And Zora? Well, she just had the coolest alien mom in the entire galaxy. Here's the thing about the HFY spirit. It's not about humans being the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced. It's about that uniquely human ability to look at someone who's different, someone who's been cast aside, and say, you belong with us. In a universe where entire species wage wars over resources and territory, sometimes the most radical act is extending your hand to someone who needs it, regardless of what planet they call home. An 8-year-old girl proved that the best solutions to complex problems often come from the purest hearts. Zora's proposal worked perfectly, and honestly, the galaxy became a little brighter because of it.